Are you tired of boring old potatoes that don't improve your love life or make you rich? Do greasy chips and gnarly crumbs leave you wanting something better? There's gotta be a better way. Introducing Zucchini Chips, the lean green money-making machine that'll have you where you want to be in no time. And cut.
Wait, but these aren't even chips. This is just a raw zucchini. What am I supposed to do with this? Hello?
It's morphin' time. Zucchini power. Go! Alright, that's enough of those shenanigans, so let's get down to business and talk zucchinis. They are in season right now, they're crisp, they're delicious, so let's turn these bad boys into some chips. So I'm going to start by cutting off the ends of these, and I'm choosing to cut these by hand. Obviously, if you have a slicer or a mandolin, this is made very simple and it'll keep them uniform, but I like to just run through it by hand, try and keep them uniform. You don't want to go too thin because it'll be kind of flimsy and greasy, not too thick because then they're more like fritters, so I try to go just for about this thickness, and they come out with the perfect bite, crispy on the outside and have a nice zucchini flavor in the middle. Now that we are rich with our zucchini coins, take a minute to celebrate and Scrooge McDuck them if you want. If you know, you know. But moving on, let's get these into a container that we will soak them in milk. And I just happen to have almond milk in the fridge. You can use whatever milk that you have, but even with this very low-fat almond milk, it still works just fine. Any kind of milk will do you. Water might not have enough viscosity to it, so there has to be some substance, but basically the idea is just to soak these for not as long as you can, but I would say at least a couple hours. I left these in overnight in the fridge, covered them tightly, and then by the next morning they come out looking like this. They really don't look too much different. They kind of curve up a little bit, so I won't waste too much time there. But now let's get into the ingredient that is going to soak up all that milk, and you're going to need some kind of flour. For me, this first part is a cup of all-purpose flour. The second part is a cup of cornstarch. Ideally, you want to go with some kind of light flour. I think Wondra flour is perfect for this. I couldn't find any in the store, and I was too lazy to go elsewhere, so I just did my own kind of homemade light flour with the all-purpose and cornstarch equal parts. Season it with black pepper and salt, and then here the key is just don't overcrowd them. You really want to give them enough space, so use a big enough container. Get rid of the excess milk. I just drain them in a colander in the sink, and then I'm just layering these in here. Give them their space. You really want to coat them well like this, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You want to get them really nice and coated here, but then you want to get rid of all the excess flour so our oil isn't a big floury mess. So before you drop into the oil, just give them a really good shake to get off that excess flour. Make sure each one is nice and individually coated. Now we're going to take some vegetable oil or corn oil or something with a decent smoking point, put that in a pot or pan or whatever you have, and I go for about 365, 375. Use a thermometer if you're not used to doing this, but just be very careful. You can see I test with just one just to kind of see where it's at, and then when that starts bubbling and it's at the temperature that I want, I throw in more. The key to these, you don't have to necessarily flip them, you just got to keep them moving. Not constantly, but about every couple minutes. I mean, with the small batch this size in this pot, it took me about 6 minutes to get these nice and golden brown. I would use a slotted spoon or a spider or something better than the spatula that I have here, but this is just what I'm using. But again, you just want to keep them moving until they get nice and golden brown. Just keep your eye on them. Don't fill your pot up too high with oil. Start slow with the temperature, because with each batch, they'll get darker quicker, so you just want to watch the heat and just adjust accordingly as you go. So take your time, go slow, especially if you haven't deep fried before. You just want to be super careful. Again, don't fill your pot too high. Keep the temperature low. Make sure you have good ventilation. And key thing is you want to make sure that you have something ready for these bad boys like this. This wire rack is perfect for them when they come out, because you want something to get the excess oil to drip off. So whether that's a ton of paper towels or something else, but I think this wire rack is perfect. And you can see these bad boys, they're not flimsy, they're not soggy, there's not any excess grease. These aren't greasy at all. They're nice and crisp. Any excess oil is falling off these guys right now. Let them cool just a little bit, but while they're still hot is when you want to season them. I'm only doing it on the rack this way to kind of show you. The best way to do it is to throw it in a bowl and just kind of toss them. I'm throwing in some fresh basil and some Parmesan cheese along with a little bit of salt and pepper. We already seasoned our flour, so it really doesn't need too much. But yeah, I would just throw these after you give them a chance to cool just ever so slightly while they're still hot to absorb whatever toppings that you choose to use. But now that these are nice, hot, and crispy, let's talk sauces. Hey, see what I did there? Yeah, and I've made marinara a bunch of times on this channel, so if you want a slower version, go back and watch pretty much half of my other videos. I make marinara all the time. A little bit of olive oil, about a quarter of a white onion, dice it up, go over low heat, season with salt and pepper, a nice big fat tablespoon of garlic. Don't want to brown these, just want to let them simmer. Make a huge mess with some good quality tomatoes. Try and get them in the pot, unlike me. Throw in some fresh basil, and that's it. Just keep it simple, use good ingredients, let it go low and slow for as long as you want. It's just going to develop more more flavor. Now to get a little bit more fancy for a second option, I'm going with a balsamic aioli. So I'm going to start with an egg yolk, and that is just a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, and I'm just going to ever so slowly throw that in there. Again, if you want to see some of the aiolis I've made in the past slower and more detail, a lot of my other videos have that as well, but this one with the vinegar is just going to help emulsify with the egg yolk in the beginning. I threw in just a tiny bit, just a squirt of fresh lemon juice just to lighten up, and then I slowly stream in some decent light extra virgin olive oil and just go really slow, and it'll make a nice emulsion for you. Then I throw in a teaspoon of garlic, season it with salt and pepper, give it a taste, throw that in the fridge to cool, and it is ready to serve. Speaking of serving, it's time, it's Vader time. No, not that Vader. How do they not have a gif of Vader the wrestler? Well, anyways, here are our zucchini chips. They are crisp, they are delicious, they smell amazing. The cheese and the basil just sticks to them so nicely and flavor them. I threw a little bit more on top. But yeah, I can't stress this enough, man. These are not soggy chips. Like, they just have their own individual crisp bite, and you can see the way that they hold up. Like, they're not flimsy at all, but they're also not like too hard. Our sauces are here, which should have a nice sweet and savory contrast here. So I'm gonna start dipping into these bad boys, and once again I'm gonna show you my obsession with how crisp they came out, because again, there's no starch in these aren't potatoes, so to fry a vegetable like this, you gotta do it just right, but it comes out perfectly. They balance so nicely with the marinara. Zucchini goes nice with this, basil, cheese, just natural flavors. The balsamic vinaigrette aioli, whatever you want to call it, goes super nice with this, kind of creamy, kind of tangy. And here I get like a big shot. I start double dipping. I only have one mouth. I don't know which one to put in first, but that is a good problem to have. The kind of problems that I like. Which delicious zucchini chip and dip do I put in my mouth first? Try it for yourself. Let me know what you think. Hopefully the potato farmers of America aren't going to come after me after all that potato bashing that I did. But yeah, don't be a weenie. Have some zucchini. Peace out.